Hola, hola a todos, ¿cómo están? Welcome to another Spanish lesson. Today we are going to explore a word that shows up constantly in Spanish. Specifically, this is a verb that sometimes means riding something like a bike. Also, it can be used to say where you are roughly, or even when you're doing or making something. And let's not forget that you can use this verb even when dating someone. It's one of those flexible verbs in Spanish that changes depending on the context. And mastering it will make your Spanish sound much more natural. In this lesson, we'll break down each of these meanings with clear examples so you can start using this verb. Let's get started. The verb I'm talking about is the verb andar. Andar. Andar can be used in multiple situations, so we're going to learn first its basic meanings, then intermediate meanings, and advanced meanings. Let's learn the basic, common, everyday uses. The first meaning is to ride or to use transport. In Spanish, andar can mean to ride or to use transport when it's paired with vehicles or even animals like horses. But the nuance is that it describes being on or using certain transport, not driving it. And that doesn't mean to drive. Now, let's look at some examples using andar when it means that. Me gusta andar en bicicleta. Me gusta andar en bicicleta. That means I like riding a bike. So who doesn't like that? I do a lot. Let's break this down. Me gusta. This is a very common phrase that means I like something. So me gusta can mean I like it, or I like to do something, or I like something. Okay, so me gusta is a great phrase that you need to remember. Andar, this is the verb that we're learning right now. Andar means riding in the situation. And then we have en. En, when you are talking about writing something in Spanish and you use the verb andar, it's a common thing to find en right after the verb andar. Andar en carro, andar en bicicleta, andar en caballo. So andar en works really well when talking about riding. En in this situation is similar to saying a, even though it's not a literal translation, it's similar to that. Bicicleta means bike. So we're talking about a bicycle, okay? Excellent. So this is a very common example. Me gusta andar en bicicleta. I like riding a bike. Now, let me know in the comment section down below if you like riding a bike. And please share your comment, if possible, in Spanish so you can practice your Spanish. Now, let's look at another example when using the verb andar. But let's talk about, for example, when someone is on a bus. Siempre ando en camión. Siempre ando en camión. This means I always take the bus. Let's break this down. Siempre means always. Ando, yo ando. We don't need to say yo, and this is the verb andar, by the way. Yo ando means I take in the situation. We're talking about using some sort of transportation. So that's why we have I take. Even though andar means to ride, you can also use it just to refer that you, for example, always take a bus. En, ando en, remember, andar en works well together, so that still means I take. And then we have camión. Camión means bus. Okay, we don't have el camión. Siempre ando en el camión. It depends if you want to say certain specific bus, then you can say el camión. But if it's in general, any bus, you don't have to say el camión. Okay, so you can just say camión. Andar en camión. Andar en bicicleta. We're not talking about something specific or a specific bike or a specific bus. We're talking in general that, you know, you're riding a bike or you're taking a bus. En camión. Camión means bus. Excellent. The next meaning of the verb andar is to be somewhere roughly. We're not saying a precise location. We're talking about, hey, I am downtown. Hey, I am around this area. So let's look at an example using andar when it means to be somewhere. ¿Dónde andas? ¿Dónde andas? This means, where are you? Isn't it this crazy? ¿Dónde andas is a very common way to ask, where are you? Roughly. You're not like, tell me specifically where you are. You're saying, hey, where are you? Roughly. You know, maybe you don't need some detailed information about where someone is. But yeah, this is a common way to ask, where are you in Spanish? Let's break this down. ¿Dónde? ¿Dónde? ¿Dónde means where. Okay. And then we have andas. Tú andas. We don't need tú. We don't need subject pronouns in Spanish most of the time, unless you get to be very specific. But in questions, you usually don't have them. So, ¿dónde andas? Andas, tú andas. We're referring to tú, and tú means you in Spanish. So we have you somewhere, not visible in the sentence because we don't need it. And when we say andas, in this situation, it means are you. Okay, are you? Remember, andar, this is the verb andar. And in this situation, it means to be somewhere. This is a very interesting thing. You can reply by saying ando por el parque. Ando por el parque. And this means around the park. I'm around the park. So you're not saying exactly where at the park, you're just around the park. You could be walking, passing by the park, and you're just saying, hey, I'm around the park, close to the park. Okay, so let's break this down. Ando, yo ando. This is the verb andar conjugated, by the way. Yo ando. And when you say por, andar por, that's something you need to learn. When you're saying andar por, that means to be around an area. So when you say ando por, that means I'm around. And then you have el, the, parque. Parque means park. So remember to include por. Andar por, yo ando por el aeropuerto. Yo ando por tu casa. Yo ando por mi trabajo. So por is necessary in this situation when andar means to be somewhere, around somewhere. Keep that in mind. It's really important. Excellent. Let's look at the next meaning of the verb andar. Another basic meaning. To do or to make. When you are doing something, when you're making something. This is similar to the verb estar. Estar. Estoy comiendo. You could replace it with the verb andar. Ando comiendo. I'm eating. So this is a very good one. Let's look at an example to see how to use andar when it means to do or to make. ¿Qué andas haciendo? ¿Qué andas haciendo? This means, what are you doing? ¿Qué andas haciendo? What are you doing? So you're asking casually. Maybe you're asking a friend, hey, what are you doing? What are you up to? Right? So you're just curious. You just want to talk with your friend. So you can ask this, ¿qué andas haciendo? ¿Qué andas haciendo? Also, if you see someone doing something wrong, you can say, ¿qué andas haciendo? What are you doing? So in general, ¿qué andas haciendo? Can be used when you want to say, what are you doing? Let's break this down. ¿Qué means what? Andas, tú andas. We don't need tú, we need andas. This is the verb andar. And that means doing in this situation. And let's include you. Why? Because again, we don't need the subject pronoun tú. We just need the conjugated verb for that subject pronoun. So that's how you know, oh, okay, so we're talking about tú. Tú andas. We don't need tú. Let's include also haciendo. Andar haciendo. That term can work well to say, to be doing something, okay? So when you say, ¿qué andas haciendo? That means, what are you doing? ¿Qué means what? Andas haciendo? Are you doing? Okay? So that is the meaning. Something important to notice here is that in this situation, when you want to use the verb andar, you need right after a verb, a second verb, in the gerund form. Haciendo, comiendo, trabajando, durmiendo. So you need the verb andar plus a gerund. Okay, so don't forget that. Let's look at another example. For example, if you want to answer this question, you can say ando haciendo la comida. Okay, ando haciendo la comida. And that means I'm making food. You are in the kitchen making food. Ando haciendo. So this is quite interesting to note here. Once again, we have the verb andar. Yo ando. We don't need yo. That's another subject pronoun you don't need, or personal pronoun that you don't need. Ando. And then we have a gerund, a verb in the gerund form. Ando haciendo. That means I'm making. And then we have la comida, food. This is very useful to know in Spanish because a lot of people don't use the verb estar all the time. You could say estoy haciendo la comida, but if you want a different way to say the same thing and it will make you sound more natural, you can say ando haciendo. Okay? Ando haciendo. Excellent. Now, you can replace the gerund, the verb in the gerund form, with another one. You can replace it with another one. So you can say ando durmiendo. Ando durmiendo. And durmiendo is a gerund, is a verb in the gerund form. And the verb we're talking about is dormir, which means to sleep. If you say ando durmiendo, that means I'm sleeping. This goes beyond to do or to make. Essentially, you can use the verb andar and then haciendo to say to do or to make, but also you can change this to another verb in the gerund form. You could change it to comiendo. That's the gerund form of the verb comer. And when you say ando comiendo, that means I'm eating. Okay, so this is a very flexible and useful verb that you can use when you're just doing something or making something. And it goes beyond that. Now let's learn the intermediate common everyday uses. Andar can also mean to be in a state, and we're talking about feelings and conditions. You could be feeling tired, for example, or maybe you're feeling sick. So andar can be used in that situation. Let's look at an example. ando cansado. Ando cansado. That means I'm feeling tired. Now let's break this down. Ando, yo ando. Yo ando, we don't need yo, you need ando. And ando means in this situation, I'm feeling. And then we have cansado. Cansado means tired. Okay? So you can say, instead of saying estoy cansado, you can say ando cansado. I'm feeling tired. Okay, so this is quite interesting. Now, you can change cansado to something else. You can say ando feliz, and that means I'm feeling happy. Ando feliz, I'm feeling happy. Also, you can change this to something else. For example, ando enfermo or enferma. Enfermo, masculine, enferma, feminine. And that means I'm feeling sick or I'm sick. Okay. So this is a very interesting way to use the verb andar. Remember, it can mean to be in a state. Excellent. Now let's look at another meaning of the verb andar. The next one is to function or to work. Now we're talking about things that are working well or not. We could be talking about computers, phones, cars, anything that needs to function or that needs to work just to accomplish something. Now let's look at an example using andar in this situation. Mi celular no anda bien. Mi celular no anda bien. So that means my phone isn't working well. Maybe, I don't know, you dropped your phone and now it's not working as it should be. So you can use andar in that situation. Let's break this down. Mi means my. Celular refers to a cell phone. So in this situation, phone, no, in this situation means isn't. No can mean a bunch of things. It can mean no, don't, didn't, wouldn't. It depends on the situation. But in this situation, it means isn't. So, and essentially, this is just telling you that there's something negative, something that is not happening. And then we have anda. This is the verb andar. Anda means working. In this situation, remember, it could mean to function or to work as well. And then we have bien. Bien means well. Mi celular no anda bien. My phone isn't working well. Excellent. And of course, andar is conjugated for this noun. Mi celular anda. Okay. And then we add no to make it negative. And then we have bien, which means well. Excellent. Remember, andar can mean to function or to work. Now, the next meaning of andar is to be looking for. Specifically, you need the phrase andar buscando. Andar buscando. And that means to be looking for. Now, let's look at an example using this term. Ando buscando novia. Ando buscando novia. And this means I'm looking for a girlfriend. Yeah, it's a normal thing to say if you're single and you're trying to find a girlfriend. You can say this in Spanish. So, ando. Yo ando. We don't need yo. You need ando. Let's include buscando because that's the phrase we need. Andar buscando. Ando buscando means I'm looking for. And then we have novia. Novia means girlfriend. We don't have una here, which means a, but it's a normal thing to do in Spanish. When talking about looking for something, you can say andar buscando plus the noun, okay? You don't need definite articles, indefinite articles. You can say ando buscando novia, ando buscando trabajo, ando buscando fresas. Except when talking about places, you can say ando buscando la oficina. So in that situation, you need definite articles, but for the other nouns, you really don't need definite or indefinite articles. Ando buscando novia means I'm looking for a girlfriend. Okay, excellent. That's another use of the verb andar. By the way, buscando comes from the verb buscar, which means to find, okay? So technically you can say busco novia, right? But it's a common thing to say in Spanish, andar buscando, okay? So you're actively finding. Now let's learn some advanced uses of the verb andar. The first one is to spread rumors or news. And you need the phrase andar diciendo, okay? Andar diciendo. So once again, you have a gerund here. So andar can work with gerunds so well, it's unbelievable. So andar diciendo refers to, gossiping. You are just spreading rumors about something or just news, okay? Let's look at an example. Anda diciendo que va a renunciar. Anda diciendo que va a renunciar. This means he's going around saying he's going to quit. So that can happen. Someone is saying, I had enough. I'm gonna quit. I hate this job. So this is a common thing to say in Spanish, and andar diciendo is perfect for that situation. Anda, él anda. We don't need él unless you're saying ella, because anda can work for él and ella, or usted, which all of them are subject pronouns. If you're already talking about this guy, you don't have to say él constantly. You can just have the conjugated verb. So anda diciendo means he's going around. Anda is the verb we're learning, andar, and then we have diciendo. Anda diciendo, he's going around, saying, let's include saying, okay? If you want to add a link word, que works really well in this situation. So you can say andar diciendo que, and that means to be going around saying something, okay? Va, él va. And let's include a, because when you say va a, that means he's going to do something. Va comes from the verb ir. Of course, it's conjugated. The verb ir is so irregular in Spanish, but it's a very common verb. Ir a refers to going to, and va a, él va a, we don't need él. But when you say va a, can mean he's going to. And then we have the verb renunciar. Renunciar means to quit. Anda diciendo que va a renunciar. He's going around saying he's going to quit. Crazy. That's crazy. You could also say, ¿por qué andas diciendo rumores de mí? ¿Por qué andas diciendo rumores de mí? This means, why are you spreading rumors about me? Or why are you going around saying things about me, rumors? Once again, we're using andar diciendo, and now this meaning is very similar to saying to spread rumors, okay? So let's break this down. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué means why. Then we have andas diciendo. Tú andas diciendo. We don't need tú, but that means, are you spreading? Okay, similar to saying that. And then we have rumores. Rumores, rumors. Oops, let me fix that. Rumors. Rumors. Rumores means rumors. Then we have de. De means about. And me means me. Okay? ¿Por qué andas diciendo rumores de mí? Why are you spreading rumors about me? Well, that is a bad situation for sure. If you're talking about gossiping, this is a great use of the verb andar. Now, let's look at the next meaning of the verb andar. To date someone. And you need the phrase andar con alguien. Okay? So if you're dating someone, you can use this phrase. Andar con alguien. This one is quite interesting too. Let's look at an example using andar in this situation. ¿Con quién andas? ¿Con quién andas? And this means, who are you dating? Let's break this down. Con. We have con. Okay, when you have it in a question, you put con first, and then you have alguien in this situation, quien. Quien means who. Con means with, okay? We have a different order here. When you're using andar con alguien in a question, you put con first, and then quien. Quien pretty much refers to alguien, okay? And then we have andas. Andas, that's the verb andar, of course. Quien refers to who, and then the rest, con andas, refers to, are you dating? Okay? So that is interesting. Now, you can answer this question like this. Ando con María. Ando con María. And that means I'm dating Maria. Okay? So let's break this down. Ando, yo ando. We don't need yo. Let's include con. Okay? Ando con. That means I'm dating. And then we have the person. We have alguien, which means someone. Alguien means someone. And then we have María. María means María. Remember, that refers to alguien, someone. Andar con is the phrase you need, and then don't forget to add someone. Excellent. That is quite different. Andar can mean so many things, and this is a very common term as well. And lastly, we have the last meaning of the verb andar, to be careful or cautious. And you need the phrase andar con cuidado. Andar con cuidado, we have the verb andar, then we have con again, similar to this one. And then we have cuidado. Cuidado can be an expression by itself, and it means be careful. So essentially, you're just saying be careful with this phrase, okay? Or just be cautious. Let's look at an example using this phrase. Tienes que andar con cuidado en ese barrio. Tienes que andar con cuidado en ese barrio. That means you need to be cautious or be careful in that neighborhood. Oh, okay. Someone is warning us. Let's break this down. Tienes. Oops, that's very thin. Tienes. Tú tienes. We don't need tú. We need tienes. And let's include que. When you say tienes que, that means you need to or you have to. Okay? Tienes que. And then we have the phrase we're learning, andar con cuidado. And that means be cautious. Okay? En ese means that. Barrio, neighborhood. Okay? Tienes que andar con cuidado en ese barrio means you need to be cautious in that neighborhood. Andar con cuidado is right here. Okay? So essentially you just need to conjugate the verb andar. You need to know the conjugation of the verb andar in order to use these terms, okay? And in general, all the terms, because andar is a verb and that's how verbs work in Spanish. So we learned 9 different meanings of the verb andar, and it's crazy. We learned the basic ones, the intermediate ones, and the advanced ones. Share some examples using any of these terms. Practice your Spanish by doing that. You can leave all of them in the comment section down below. I appreciate that you watched my lesson. Thank you so much. If you liked it, please give it a like. That helps me a lot. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Muchas gracias por ver este video. Los veo a la próxima. Adiós. I want to give a big shout out to our Cafecito members. Christopher Michael, Ruby Brockenberry, Michael Lee, Regulation D, Hanko Juan, Christine Mache, Washly Bader, Formula Air JSE, Alan K, James Torma, Judy Baldock, Geraldo Sandoval, and M. Elaine De Simone. Thank you to all our Cafecito members. If you want to support this channel and buy me a cup of coffee, please check out the Cafecito membership by clicking on the join button down below. Muchas gracias.